Sajdah Sahu, there are two ways of doing this. Most of us from Guyana or the Hanafi, Mazhab, we tend to, I think, do the first way. So Sajdah Sahu is for forgetfulness. Any wajib item you miss out, like for example, you forget to recite, you read Salat al-Zuhur and you read aloud by accident, then you will make Sajdah Sahu. And the way you do it is you read the Salah completely as normal, and then you make it taslim, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi once, and then you say Allahu Akbar, and then you go down for 2 sajdas. And then you come back up, you repeat tashahud, and you continue your dua and all that until the end of the salah. And then you make 2 taslim to finish your salah. So you're going to pray, and then you say Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, then you go down Allahu Akbar, and then you come up, then you go Allahu Akbar, then you come up, then you make tashahud again, dua, and continue. The other way is to read the tashahud, make your dua, but before you make that final salam, you say Allahu Akbar, you make 2 sajdas, and then immediately after that, you give 2 salams. So those are the 2 ways in which we make the Sajdah Sahu. And they are generally for the things which is wajib, which we omit. Next slide. So there is, usually there in the Quran, you will find that there are places where the verse kinds of instruct you to make sajda. And so there is a difference of opinion about how many places. Most of us who come from the Hanafi background will know there are 14 places, but the more authentic narrations give 15 places in the Quran, which requires us to make Sajdah Tilaawah. Now, so whenever you recite these verses, whether you're reciting at home with your Quran or whether you're reciting in Salah, usually the Imam should inform you that he is going to be reciting a Sajdah, an ayah that has the Sajdah instructions. And so he will give you an indication in the second rak'ah where I'm going to be reciting a verse that has Sajdah. And so you now are alerted. And what will happen is after the Imam recite that verse, the Imam will say Allahu Akbar and go all the way down and make Sajdah. Now we might get confused and make ruku as the Imam went for Sajdah, because if you're not paying attention, that's why it's always important to listen to the Imam before he makes a prayer. He will inform you. And so he will make Allahu Akbar, go down for Sajdah, and then he will say Allahu Akbar and he'll come right up back. He will not sit. And then he will either continue reciting. Most of the times they would prefer to recite a few more verses, or he don't recite anything else and then say Allahu Akbar again and go down for ruku as normal. So he's just making one sajda, right? So this is, there are 15 places in the Quran. I have put in the notes that I'm giving you the reference for all 15 places. What you can do if you have a Quran that you are using, and I always recommend you try to find a Quran that is your Quran that you're going to be using. Don't keep having, every time you pick up a different Quran, try to have one Quran that is your Quran, become attached to it. And then if you do that, then you could take a highlighter and you could go through your Quran, highlight those verses. So even when you're reciting in Ramadan with your book, you can see them clearly when they're coming, and you will know. So whenever you're reciting and you come, you will make sajda for that particular ayah that you recite. And so this is something that we are asked to do. It is considered mustahab. If you don't know and you forget, if you were reciting with the Imam, or you know for sure that this ayah has sajda, but the Imam did not recognize it or didn't do anything, you have to follow the Imam because it's not fard for him to do. So he may bypass it. And so you follow the Imam. You don't say, hey, Imam, or you don't do your own. Okay. Next slide. Okay, so the dua in sajda, as we mentioned, that this is the best, when Allah is closest to you, is when you make sajda. And so Allah has allowed us to make sajda, we're making dua to Allah, because that's the time we are closest to Allah. And this is something, I'm sorry to say that they don't teach this, and we should be teaching this in the madrasa. You know, because a lot of us, I don't know how many of you know that, but in the sajda, if you don't know Arabic language, then you are allowed to make dua in English in the sajda, right? You can make a dua in any language that you're comfortable with. So in the sajda, that is the moment, because the salah is the ultimate worship, and you get the dua is the highest form of the worship as well. And so you get to make this dua. So if you need something very specific, then in this sajda, you can ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in English or whatever language is comfortable for you. It is usual to ask. Allah has many du'as in the Quran that is very comprehensive. So if you know the one that is رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ, that is, you're asking for everything. So you can make that dua in the sajda. Oh Allah, give me everything that is good in this world, everything that is good in the hereafter, and save me from the punishment of the fire. There's nothing, more comprehensive than this, and Allah teaches us to say that. So this is in Surah Baqarah 201. And so you're allowed to make your dua in the language of your thing. There are some difference of opinion among some of the scholars. The Hanbali school of thought, they say it's allowed. The Malikis, they consider this wrong. You know, that you can't make it in any, because as you know, the Malikis, they only focus on the people of Medina. Those who live in Medina, they're all Arabs. So the Maliki tends to be very, very strict about anything outside of what Medina's people practice, as we did when we did Mazhab. But they consider this as almost haram to do, to make dua such that, but it is allowed for us to do so. The next slide. So if you come late for the salah, and so sometimes we don't catch the salah on time. And the way we know what we have missed, if you have caught the ruku, you have caught the rakah. So once you get in time when they are in the bowing position, if you come and they say, Sami Allahu liman hamida, you know, and you didn't catch the bowing, you have missed that ruku, right? A lot of time as an imam, I'll tell you that sometimes we would be in ruku and we hear some noise of people hustling to catch the ruku, and we would delay the ruku. We would actually stay down there a little longer than usual to allow those people to come and join the salah and catch their ruku. You know, as to be conscious, like, you know, that, okay, I hear a bunch of people, footsteps, hustling to get, you know, then we will delay the ruku. Because once we raise up from the ruku, you have missed the rakah. Now, when you join any prayer, sometimes you are not sure what you miss and what you don't. They're praying a 4 rakah salah, you don't know at what stage you have joined. What you do is you say Allahu Akbar and you immediately join the congregation. And then when you join the congregation, you continue praying with them to the end. And once you continue praying at the end, you will notice whether it was 2 rakah, because you're counting a ruku. So I noticed we only made 2 ruku, so I missed 2, right? And then when the imam says Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, then you do not say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah with him. You wait until he said both of it, because he may have made a mistake in the salah and he may say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and then he's going down for Sajdah Sahu. And then, so you want to make sure he's saying both of it, and then you don't do any of it. You get up and then you begin to now make up for those rak'ah that you have missed. Now it gets a little tricky, because if it gets a little tricky in that if it's a 2 rak'ah salah, it's very easy to know whether you miss one or not. If it's 3 rak'ah, you also, you know, you miss the first one or the second one, third one. When it's 4, Then we have 2 times we have to sit, and sometimes we get confused. So I miss 1 out of the 4. What you have to do is to consider that one as the first rakah that you miss. So when you're making up back, you're praying 1 extra, then you will sit. You will consider that's number 2, then you will sit down, then you will make the other 2, and then sit. But you are making up the prayer for the ones that you miss, the rakah. Now, the next slide. The Witr prayer. The word Witr means odd, and the Prophet ﷺ said we must end our prayer for the evening with an odd number of rak'ah. And there are 3 different ways in which people do this. Number 1 is what we are accustomed to in our Hanafi mazhab, that you make 3 rak'ah Witr. And this should be the last prayer of the night. If you do want to make extra prayer after the Witr, then whatever extra prayer you make, you don't make back a next Witr. There are no 2 Witrs for one night, as the Prophet mentioned. So the Witr should be the last. Now, the way you make the Witr is similar to Maghrib Salah. You get up, you recite, and then you go down, you sit down for the second rak'ah, then third rak'ah, and then you conclude your prayer. We do have in the Witr prayer the Dua Qanut, which we make in the last rak'ah of the Witr. The other way of doing it is to make 2 rak'ah, complete it with salam and everything, and then get up and make 1 rak'ah, and then complete that. That's another way that we can do the Witr. So the Witr can be just the 2 rak'ah complete and then 1 rak'ah. And the last way is to pray a whole bunch of salah. You're getting up all the time. You're not sitting down for any, except for the last 2. When you're about to end. So if you're praying, the Prophet has prayed up to 13 rak'ah Witr at one time. Sometimes he prayed 9, sometimes he prayed 3, sometimes he prayed 5, sometimes 7. If you're doing any of those, 13, on the 11th, the 12th and the 13th one, you will sit for tashahud and get up. And then the next one, you will sit again and continue. So those are the 3 ways that the Witr prayer is established. And generally, if you're accustomed to one particular way, stick to that, if it's from among these 3. There is hadith, this topic of the Witr, you will hear people arguing a lot. Like one Ramadan, one brother came to me and he said, our brother, and he said, there's a hadith actually which says that do not make your Witr like Maghrib. And he said, how are you guys praying 3 Witr? Because in Ramadan we were praying Witr collectively. And he was like, very, very strange to find that. I said, you read one hadith, brother, and you don't understand all the rulings. And I had to take time to go and show him other hadith that allowed different ways in which the Prophet ﷺ did it. And that is not incorrect to do it like that. And so one of the greatest challenges each of us will have is our salah. And so may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to establish our prayer on a regular basis. Keep making dua if you are not there yet, and ask Allah to make it easy for you. I wanted to mention these few things in the salah because as a refresher, because salah is really important and it's one of the first things that will be questioned on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So we want to be able to establish our prayer as much as we can. If you can't pray all the sunnah and the nawafil, at least make sure you pray your fard. There are going to be moments when life is going to place different roadblocks in front of you. You have to find ways to be able to get around them to be able to establish your salah. And if you strive and make dua, Allah will make it easy for you, inshallah. So those are some of the things I wanted to mention about the salah. We'll open the floor.